Okay, so we are in chapter 13, verse 3. V'ra Kohen es hanega b'ora basar. And so the Kohen will see the nega on the ora basar. The Kohen will see the affliction, the tsaras, on the skin of the flesh. V'seyar b'nega hafach lavan. And if the hair that's inside the affliction became white, umar'ea nega amok me'or b'saro, and if the appearance of the nega, i.e. the tsaras, is deeper than the skin of the flesh, whatever that means, Rashi is going to try and tell us this, then nega tsarasu, then it is tsaras.
13, verse 3.
Yeah. Chapter 13, verse 3. Maybe he's translating it differently. So, and the Kohen will see it and say it's tamei. Okay, so what is it here? So let's try and understand this Rashi. V'ra Kohen es hanega. So if the Kohen sees the affliction in the skin of the flesh, and the hair in the affliction turned white, mitchila shachor, if the hair was originally black, v'afach lavan betoch hanega, and then it turned to white within the middle of the affliction, umiut sha'ar shnayim, umiut se'er shnayim, and the minimum number of hairs is 2. So the 2 hairs turn from black to white, or that's one way in which it's saras, or alternatively, if the appearance of the affliction is umarei nega amok me'or b'saro, if it's deeper than the skin of the flesh. Kol marei lavon amoku. Every appearance of white is deeper. Kemarei chama, like the appearance of a sun, amuka menatzeo, is deeper than the shade. What is this about? This is about the concept is that there are 2 ways you can beat saras. If the hair turns white, or if there's a white spot in the middle of the flesh. So if there's a circular or a spot where the hair turned white, or if the spot itself turned white, then v'timei oso, then he should say to him, you are tamei. Yomarlo tameata, and we'll say to him that you're tamei. Sheseir lavan, Rashi says, because the white hair is a siman tuma, is an indication of tuma. That's the gzeras hakosov. Okay. In chapter 13, verse 4, v'im bahares livanahi, and if it's a bahares, which is white, we don't know what a bahares is yet, be'or b'saro, in the skin of the flesh, the amok. Is leprosy still a disease, by the way, these
Absolutely.
days? Where? Not in America, you don't see it.
I mean, it's good treatments for it.
There's treatments for it?
Absolutely.
Vaccines?
No. Thalidomide, actually.
Thalidomide?
Thalidomide, which the drug that caused all those birth defects.
Okay.
Actually is effective against thalidomide.
So you can cure leprosy.
Your leprosy can be
cured. And this is not leprosy, but I'm just wondering.
Right.
Yeah. So Jerry, yes, you had a question.
There used to be a leper colony on an island off Louisiana. I don't know whether it's been disbanded or not.
You mean
American citizens who had leprosy was sent to this island off Louisiana.
Okay, I just don't know anything about it. Probably was destroyed by Katrina. Seriously, Vehim baharis levanahi, if the white part is a baharis, or bisaro, and it's in the skin of his flesh, va'amok imara min or, and it's not deeper than the skin, usara lo afach lavan, and its hair did not turn white, then v'eskira kohen as a nega shivat yamim. Then the kohen has to be confined for 7 days. Meaning to say, if you're not sure that this is tzaras, hello Seth. Somebody got some sun. So if you're not sure if this is tzaras because there's a baheret, but the skin itself is not whiter and the hair has not turned white, then what you need to do is you need to confine this kohen for 7 days. The Kohen says we confine this person who has the tzaras, we confine him for 7 days. Maybe get a chumash, and also there's borscht if you like borscht. So this is what's called there's confine or quarantine. There's two types of mitzoras. There's a mitzora muskar and a mitzora muchlat. A mitzora muskar, or chapter 13, verse 4. A mitzora muskar is a Kohen who we confine or quarantine for 7 days while we're determining whether or not he's a mitzora. And a mitzora muchlat would be if he's determined at the outset that he's certainly a mitzora. So this person, his symptoms are indeterminate at the beginning. Like, you're not sure if you have the leprosy or not. What do? That's like we say, we all learned all these rules during our own COVID lockdowns. Not knowing if you have COVID is even more harsh than knowing for sure you have COVID, because we have to put you in lockdown until we could determine whether or not you test positive. And then if you test positive, you get locked up another 10 days or whatever it was at the beginning.
COVID.
What?
COVID.
That was what it was. And nobody trusted the Kohen. It's like we had a different Kohen. Our Kohen was not a religious leader, but it was a medical doctor or whatever, whoever it was, medical committee. Kohen. Okay, so now verse 4, Va'amok imara min ha'or, in case you don't know what that phrase means, Rashi tells us. You looking at the Rashi?
Great Rashi.
Rashi says, Lo yadati pirusho. I don't know what it means. That's what makes Rashi so great. He says,
why comment on it?
Because he
Why
knows.
comment?
Because
Maybe
Rashi
he has a
knows.
comment on
Because
everything.
Rashi knows that there are people like me who are leading a Torah study, and that if we don't see Rashi commenting, we're going to assume that the fault is ours and we'll make something up. And Rashi is telling us, I don't know what it means to tell us, guess what? If I don't know what it means, and I'm not afraid to say I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's that confusing. But if Rashi doesn't know what it means, this gear, we quarantine him into one house. And he doesn't see, the Kohen doesn't see him until the end of the week. And then the simanim will determine whether or not he's mitzora. So let's say the Kohen sees him on day 7, verse 5. And if the affliction looks exactly like it looked before, the affliction did not spread, the Kohen quarantines him for another 7 days. Rashi says, Be'inav, b'mar'eu b'shiuro harishon, with its appearance. And it's the same appearance and the same measurement as the first time. V'skiro HaKohen shivat yamim shenit. So then the Kohen quarantines him a second time. So if after 7, so he brings this ambiguous symptom. After 7 days, it's the same ambiguity. The answer is we confine him for another 7 days. In falsa b'shavua rishon tamei muchlat. But if it had spread the first time, then he would be a certain mitzora. So after the first 7 days, we're not sure, but then after 7 days, he's a certain mitzora. Yes, Rabbi Yosef.
Just when my father had cellulitis, the doctor actually marked with a pen on the leg, like it has nothing to do with tzarat, but that they wanted to know if it's spreading or not. So it's amazing that modern medicine uses the same exact tools.
No, we use rulers and markers, but we don't only use the exact same tools. Yeah. Okay, very nice. Now we go to chapter 13, verse 6. So what have we established? I just want to repeat this. If the black hair turns white, or if there's white skin that's lower down, then we know he's for sure a mitzora. But if the black hair did not turn white, or if the mark does not appear lower, then we're not sure if he's a mitzora, but he has a baharat, he has some white mark. So then at that point, what's that?
Sorry.
So then at that point, we quarantine him for 7 days. If after 7 days of quarantine, we still do not determine what he is, we quarantine him now for another 7 days. Chapter 13, verse 6. Now at the end of day 14, the Kohen looks at him again. Or if the affliction became dim and did not spread, the Kohen says, you don't have tzaras. Mispachas. It's mispachas. And then he just washes clothes and then he's ritually pure. So what does this mean? If it became less bright, but if it remained in its appearance, ofasa, or if it spread, tameh, he's tameh. Mispachas, shem nega tahor. The mispachas is the name of a pure mark. Then he washes his garments. Even though he never had saras, he still has to wash his garments after the 2 weeks of quarantining. Rashi explains, since he was required to be confined, he's called tameh v'tzarich tevila. He requires immersion just from being in this ambiguous state. He requires immersion and washing of the garments, even though he was never tameh. So yes, Jerry.
Would you please ask your wife, after she reads these passages, what does she think this illness is? It doesn't seem to be leprosy.
I will ask her. She's read these passages, of course. My wife is a great scholar.
Well, so what I'm asking of her is, what does she think this illness is?
I could text her now and maybe she'll respond to me. She's interviewing somebody for a position, but maybe this is more important. I'll text her right now. It's a very good question.
I think some people say it's like what we call psoriasis now.
Oh.
It's a question anyway.
Yeah, that's very. It's a lot less dangerous than leprosy.
Well, yeah, it's not communicable, but it's brought on, a lot by stress and lots of things cause stress. So.
All right, well, I just texted her. We'll see what she says. In the meantime, it's very clear that the Torah is not giving a medical treatment. The Torah is giving a spiritual treatment to this disease. The Kohen, the ritual confinement. The rabbis view this as a spiritual disease caused by one of 7 sins. Most famous is Lashon Hara, but it's also arrogance, That's, so there are,
Gluttony,
what?
gu- eating like a pig, gluttony.
Yeah, gluttony, that's true.
There's
My-
a website that says the symptoms correlate to a melanoma.
Melanoma? Wow. My wife says she never thought about it. So she always was taught it was leprosy, but
Oh,
I'll tell her they want your opinion.
She sounds remarkably like Rashi.
No, Rashi, no, that's a great compliment to my wife, but Rashi, my wife says it would make sense that it's leprosy because it would make the most sense because it's the most common disease worldwide for ages was leprosy. That's what she says. I guess she did study epidemiology. It's the most common disease worldwide for ages until they found the cure for it, thanks to companies probably like the ones Dan worked for. So now the next verse says, the impasot. Oh, she says leprosy, skin lesions, curable, common. I think she's had enough now. V'impasot tifseh hamispachas ba'or, and if the mispachas spreads, acharei heira oso el kohen lataro. So after it was shown to the Kohen for his cleansing, v'nireh shenis el kohen, then he shall show himself a second time to the Kohen. Oh, she says leprosy is also very contagious. Okay. So what is going on here? Nothing. No Rashi on these verses.
Well, they had the idea of quarantine, didn't they?
Well, they knew. Now she's on fire now. She says it's leprosy is spread by mouth droplets, i.e., what do you think the next two words she says are? Lashon hara, gossip.
yeah, but the role of the Kohen here is being an MD, an unlicensed MD.
Well, he's got the best license, au contraire. He's got the license of the Torah.
The problem here is this.
Yes.
Is that if this is a disease that's caused by one of the seven, issues of whatever we cause leprosy, but it's contagious, so you can give it to somebody, you're not really getting it from the sins at that point. It's just a contagious disease. So I question sort of the reason is that, the first person may be getting it for that reason, but certainly the transmission is not the fault of somebody unless it's that, complex that Hashem knew that person deserved to receive the leprosy. Do you know what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying, but I would also suggest that it's possible that there's nothing more contagious, more dangerous than the spiritual sins. What's more devastating to a community than gossip or arrogance? So therefore, it was very easy. You have to control it, but it's probably the rabbis were trying to make meaning of it by assigning.
I think that's
ways.
right. I think that's what I feel like. I feel like unless it's a layered thing where you're saying, that person that's going to get it also deserved to get it because they did lashon hara, they did other things, and that was just what it was. But I have to believe there were people that probably didn't deserve to get the leprosy that got it from contagion. I don't know.
What I wanted to add was I don't think it's deserved. That's not the right word, but you hang out with these people, then it's consequence. Like it's just like you go to a bar, you go to all these places where these people are and they're doing these things, and that's how it spreads.
You're exactly right that one of the most dangerous things I believe, and this is actually very specifically dangerous for rabbis, is negative energy. And if a rabbi is around like people who are in need of spiritual counseling, they come to talk to the rabbi, but they're oozing negativity. Nobody here or nobody who I've met, I'm just saying that generally speaking, if they're oozing negativity, it's contagious. It is contagious.
So leprosy is contagious, but at least according to Wikipedia, it has a low pathogenicity, and 95% of people who contract don't get the disease. So maybe the only people who actually get it are ones who have done something to deserve it.
Mhm.
My wife keeps texting me, and now she says, but I am biased since it is a neurological disease. It's neurocutaneous. But I want to suggest I'm going to send her, Bill Jaffe sent me an article that it's maybe cancer. So, you know what? I'm sure there are multiple presentations of this disease.
Climate change.
It's essentially been eradicated in the United States, there were about 200 cases a year in the United States. At least according to-
Can you imagine if somebody got leprosy and it's just, they would cure it?
Yeah, it's treatable with multiple drugs.
Morale, how did it disappear though? Because they started treating it.
Right.
Yeah, but it's particularly sort of contagious in poorer areas, so there are countries.
Who don't have the medicine.
Well, and also,
Sanitary.
it depends what, sanitary
It's directly
conditions.
related to sanitation. My grandmother's nurse had it. In Brazil, it's not that uncommon still.
Right.
And it's not deadly, is the point.
No, it's not.
Depends how far you let it go.
All right, Virala Kohen, and the Kohen shall see it. V'nei pasta mispachas ba'or, the mispacha spreads. V'timoa Kohen sarasi. So if it is this spreading mispachas, then the Kohen will say it is saras.
The real objection to it is it was an ugly looking disease. That was the real problem in the.
Yeah, it was horrific looking.
That's why they went to all these lengths to access.
Well,
push
there,
people out of the community.
I know it was contagious.
Yeah, but I think the real reason was they didn't want these other people.
Probably.
Well, it's scary. They didn't have it. It was scary. It was more scary.
Scary when you don't have that.
I'm not saying it wasn't the same, that's, out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
We had a community in an island in Hawaii, they had one in Louisiana.
Well, okay. V'timoa Kohen, the Kohen, Rashi says, Mishe Timo, and once the Kohen determines that he's Tameh, Harei hu muchlat v'zakuk l'tziporim u'teklacha. Then he's going to be considered a certain mitzvah, and he's going to require the full ritual purification process, which is birds and the shaving of all the hair of his body, u'korban, and it'll require a sacrifice, and all this are going to be mentioned in the next parsha, which is Parshas Mitzorah. And we're going to say this is Sarasi, this is Saras. Hamispacha Azos is Saras. Saras, Rashi says, Lashon Nikeva, and Nega is Lashon Zachar.
Well, what's the differentiation? These are human beings. Why differentiate between male and female?
No, Rashi's everything in Hebrew is the language is gendered. So they're saying that the word that Rashi's telling us that Saras is a feminine form and Nega is in the masculine form. I don't know why. I don't know how the
I
language.
see. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Thank you. By the way, thank your wife for the research she has done and conveyed it to us.
I
Thank
don't
you.
think she did research. I don't think she's done research yet, but I think she just was answering off of her top of her head. Nega tsaras ki siyeba adam, when there'll be an affliction of tsaras on a person, v'uva el kohen, he goes to the kohen. V'ra'a kohen, minei se'es levana ba'or. The kohen shall see it, and behold, there will be a white se'es in the skin. V'hi afcha se'ar levan. And it will turn, the hair on it will turn white. U'mechyat basar chai ba'se'es. Okay, what's going on here? V'ra'a kohen. So the Kohen sees, let's say the Kohen shall see this, and it is this called, now this is the third type of, we've seen Baharas, we've seen Mispachas, and now we've seen Se'es. We don't really know what any of these terms really mean, but we see now this white Se'es in the skin, and the hair turned white, And now we have another term, umichyat basar chai bas eis. And there is the michyat basar chai. Basically, there is this michyat of living flesh in this eis. So let's see what this means. Rashi says what michyas is. Cinnamon bilaz. In French, it's shnimint. Shnimint. You must know French because you're Canadian, Rabbi Yosef.
I grew up in Israel, sorry.
Me, what?
I grew up in Israel, didn't learn French, sorry.
Okay, so what is this cinnamon? Did you ever learn French? Simon. You know what that is,
Like
Ben?
it relates to the word santé, which is health. So cinnamon is,
Sanitary.
yeah, I mean, in this case, it has, I mean, I'm just looking at the
We didn't
Rashi.
even know. Where'd you learn French? In California?
In France.
Oh, you lived in France?
There's a lot about them you don't know.
Oh, yeah, there's tons. I didn't know you lived in France. Which part?
Aix-en-Provence, near Marseille.
Oh, I was there for the wedding for Furchgott. We landed in Marseille. I showed up at the Marseille airport at 6 a.m. And who do you think is the first person I see? A person doing the daf yomi in the airport. Anyway, yes, Ben, you were telling us, you were teaching us.
No, just that it's an old French. It has to do with healing.
Okay, yeah. So, okay, seulement, שנהפך מקצת הלובן שבתוך הסייס ומראה בשר, that portion of the white that was in the seis turned into the flesh, afu siman tuma, that's a sign of tuma. So basically, if part of the skin turned white, seyar levan below mechya, so, well, we don't even know what that means, healing. What does it even mean? It means that a part of it turned white. Let's say you have white hair without this partial appearance, or if you have this.
No, it
partial
sounds like
appearance-
he's saying that there's a healthy appearance to the skin, so like skin color or pinkish or whatever. And there's a contrast of the white within it.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
Okay, we have to stop here. We'll pick up this riveting cliffhanger tomorrow. Okay. Let us stop it.